Hey, everybody, Lisa Duerre, Ctrl+Alt+Delete. And do I have an amazing guest for us today? I have to tell you, when I got the opportunity to say yes to having our guest on, I was so excited because here's the deal. Whether you're a founder or it's your first job in tech, anywhere in between, our guest today has been in your shoes, has actually lived the experience, and is going to talk to us today about life in tech and what it means to have a full life, not just being the most amazing programmer, coder, salesperson, founder, like to be a fully integrated person in work and in life. And I'm so happy you're here today, Karan Gupta. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I've heard your podcast. You're doing something awesome.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're going to be helping me with the awesome today because your experience blows my mind. I don't even know where to start, and I know it's such a robust background that you have. I'd love for you to just tell the audience, so if you're listening in, why should I listen today? Can you just give us a sneak peek into what makes you so busy and awesome? Because you are doing a lot of really cool things.
Thank you for saying that. That's very kind. Yeah, I can give a quick introduction. So, I am EVP Technology at Shift.com, which is a marketplace for cars. So, if you're looking to like sell your car or buy one, it's a pretty easy way to do it. I helped take the company public last year, so that was a lot of fun, great experience. Before that, I was at the Real, where again kind of helped take the company through IPO, which is great learning experience. Other than that, I advise a couple of companies. One is Alfie.co, which is a platform to advance women professionally from really early in their career journey. So that's a very it's a very fulfilling part of what I do every week. I also support AliceApp.ai. This is a fast and secure service for investigative journalism. What else? A couple of companies before that. Yeah, I founded and sold a Slack-like collaboration startup. Took it through AngelPad, which was great. So it's been a fun few years. But yeah, I'm an engineer at heart. Have a background in AI and robotics. So I love to tinker.
I just have to say, I love to tinker. That could be like the slogan, right? When I look at this progression and then fueling your passion, right? Your real care about advancing women in the workplace too, especially in tech. The thing that really stood out to me that I think could just help so many people listening today is, how do you sustain that level of work, right? Because the pressures of going IPO, being, the senior leader in all of the technology decisions, and this isn't just once, it's multiple times, and then having these passion projects on the side and also doing advisory work. And by the way, you have a family, like, let's just like put that out there. You're not like the single dude who's just like locked up in a closet coding all day. Like, you have a life and a lot going on. How do you keep it all going? What's your why? What's in it? What's underneath it all for you that really makes you tick?
Oh, that's such a great question. Thanks.
Yeah.
You make me sound much better than what it is. But I think the real thing is, look, you mentioned family. That is a very big part of what inspires me. Like, I
Mhm.
want to do something which my kids can be proud of. And I'm hoping I can help or guide like other minds as I kind of go through my career. So I've been lucky enough to do that, and being able to work with awesome people, being able to work on something that's impactful, that touches a lot of people in a good way.
Mhm.
That's very motivating. So I get up in the morning every day, and I'm full of energy. I'm ready to get to work.
Yeah. I have to say, listening to you talk, I have a vision, I have a dream that everybody in tech actually appreciates, the opportunity that tech provides, which is amazing. I mean, you're changing the way people are buying cars. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so much more to this. And then at the same time, they get to appreciate those that they love and spend time with them. And my big thing is transforming the always on, never good enough, will replace you tomorrow kind of insecurities that go on in tech because of the way a lot of companies are managing budget through layoffs, right? And I get that there's a lot to this. And because you've been a founder and you've taken companies public, I'm just curious, what's the secret sauce to a culture where people feel safe to be human. In other words, bring their best at work, but also it's okay to like have a family and care about them and spend time with them too. How do you see that playing out in leaders? What's the
Oh, yeah.
secret sauce?
Yeah, no, that is, yeah, I love what you're saying there. And I love the phrase, what does it take? Like, how to be a good human. Honestly, that I think that sums it up. So I think as a leader, we have to recognize, right, like that other people also have lives. People that work in this company, they have other stuff going on, right? And I remember reading this somewhere, like that everybody has their own like personal storm going on that you have no idea about.
Mhm.
And kind of it stuck with me. And I think we have to remember that like people have a lot more going on. Like, for example, someone might not show up one day for work, or maybe they just aren't giving it their 100%, and it's been a week. And you're wondering, hey, what happened? Are they slacking off? Are they interviewing someone else? Probably not. Probably they have something going on that's bothering them, and no one has really checked in. That's more likely the case. And so I think having that perspective that, people might have other difficult things going on in their life, keeping that can really help. That can help people open up. But also the other thing I want to point out is maybe leading a little bit by example. Like, for example, I don't really lock my door when I'm in meetings, which means my kids walk in,
Mhm.
or sometimes they'll just suddenly slam the door open because they want to get something.
Yeah.
And I'm in a meeting with like 10 other people,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with that, because we're all in this situation for the first time. And I think if you set the example that this is okay, then hopefully other people find it okay too, and
Yeah.
they can be less stressed about it.
I totally agree with you. I think setting the example makes it safe for other people. There, if you're emailing at midnight, everyone else is going to be checking their emails at midnight. Like, so maybe you set it to be going out at 6 in the morning. I don't know, but if you don't take vacation, you're telling everyone else to take vacation. They're not going to. You're not walking. They're not going to walk. Like the leader sets the tone. I just love what you said so much because I wholeheartedly know that in my soul that that's where it starts, right? And so here I am talking to you, having been a founder, having taken companies public, having worked your way up, right? And knowing that you've managed really large teams through very turbulent times, right? And I just really appreciate when somebody can say, yeah, you got to walk the talk, right? Because not everybody does. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in tech to change that for people, especially now with the kids walking in, right? You making that okay. Man, there's a lot of women in tech that still don't feel like it's okay to have the kid interrupt, and a lot of women are leaving tech right now because they're not able to really just sustain the tremendous pressure that's been going on in the world on top of, having a very demanding career in tech. And I know that this is something you care deeply about. What advice would you give to our listeners to make an environment where you don't lose this amazing talent, which are the women in your workforce, and create a more flexible environment for them to be able to thrive? What's your take on that, or what ideas do you have?
Yeah, sorry, you've just given me an opportunity, so I have to take it.
Yeah.
So if you are not happy where you are and you're a woman and you're looking for someplace nice to work, come join us.
Oh, I
We're doing
love
some
it. Do it
awesome,
again. Do it again. Yes, yes.
yeah,
Mic
yeah, we're,
drop.
we're doing some awesome things. So just come join us at Shift, okay? It's a
I
nice, great place
love
for
that.
for all kinds of people. All right.
Love it.
But yeah, it's uh, going back to what I said, like I think things are improving in tech, but there is still so much more that needs to be done. I think there's been improvement when it comes to, say, maternity leaves and even paternity leaves, but I think there's still like a lot more to be done. And some of it needs to be done like, by the government. Some of it just needs to be done and become a standard
Yeah.
within companies, right? So in terms of retaining people, especially women, I think the first thing is, honestly, and this is something that we actually did. The first thing is make it comfortable for women to apply. Now, this is, I don't want to sound too general because I'm sure this does not apply to everybody, but this is something that actually someone pointed out to me when we were writing our job descriptions, is that if you're going to write that we want, strong experience in this language, that's sort of a consideration for you to apply. some people might just self-select themselves out,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
whereas some people might not, like, right? And, not to sound sexist here, but generally demographics show that, males are more likely to not care about such a restriction and still apply for the job, even though
Totally.
it doesn't exactly meet the requirements.
Yeah.
And what got pointed out to me was that women or, people with a different orientation, they might just self-select themselves out, just like, for whatever reason they might have. And so we
Yeah.
deliberately went and cleaned up all of our JDs to make them, softer and not so, not so limiting.
Mm-hmm.
And so now our hope is that, okay, I hope people now feel that, yeah, they can apply even if they loosely match these requirements, right?
Yeah.
And then we do our best to try to find, essentially like start at the pipeline level, which is we try to work with this really great company out there, the Mom Project. I don't know if you've heard of those guys, but like,
Oh, very much. Yep.
so yeah, exactly. People complain about the pipeline. So I'm like, you have to go find a solution. So that's one solution. And there are other companies like that,
Mm-hmm.
where you can find really specific talent, if you go look for it. So it starts there, make sure people are in the interview cycle. So if you do all of that already from the beginning, women will feel like, you know what, yeah, these guys actually care.
Mm-hmm.
They made it easier for me to get in, and it's part of the culture, right? And so that'll help sort of define, once, um, pausing for a quick minute, like if you like, when we think about culture, the way I think about it is, it's like, it's not defined by whatever 10 bullet points on a
Yeah.
document, right? It's
Yeah.
so, very loosely speaking, culture is defined by the people that you hire, the people that you fire, and the people that you promote.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you make it easier for people from different backgrounds to come and join your company, then you're going to have a great diverse company. Those people are going to come and help build up that culture. They're going to hire similarly, have different perspectives in building their teams. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you're saying. And I really want to double click on something you said that's so good. I haven't heard many leaders talk about really looking at the job descriptions through that lens. And there is a lot of research that justifies what you did, which is we're going to change the language to make sure that people aren't self-selecting out. It's freaking fab, that alone. Then you said working with the Mom Project, which I'm a huge fan of. I actually do a lot of work with an organization called Women Back to Work. And that focuses on the women that have taken the break, which similar to the Mom Project. But Women Back to Work is specific returnship programs in tech. So it's a very niched space. And I work with the returners and their spouses all the time. And what I find with them is that the spouses are more nervous about it than the returners, because the home life is going to change so much, right? Because the returners going back into the workforce. And I heard you talk about culture and walking the talk. And so I just have a really big smile on my face about all of this, because that really is part of it, right? And then the last thing I heard you say, which I really want to emphasize, is diversity. So this is not something that I have been, I would never claim to be an expert in diversity, right? I understand I probably have privilege I don't even know about, do you know? And I'm constantly evolving and looking and learning. But here's what I do know is that, and I want your take on this, when it comes to design, right, and engineering and, building a product, if you don't have diverse representation on those teams, I mean, I've heard of some really big technology fails just because they didn't have the blend, if you will, that's needed to make sure that it will work and be received and actually do what it's intended to do. So I'm just really curious, and I just organically showed up when you were talking. I'd love to get your thoughts on diverse teams and leading a diverse team. And what does that look like, having the experience that you have? What are the benefits of it? I guess if we were to convince someone today that diversity is a good thing.
Yeah,
Benefit.
I so wholeheartedly believe that. Okay, so personal anecdote, designed a product just a few years ago and made sure that I had women look at it,
Mhm.
starting with my wife, then my sister, and a bunch of one more of my friends. And the thing is, I feel like men will go out of their way to say, "This is awesome, and this is just going to work."
Mm,
And they're going to use language like, "You're going to crush it," and
yeah.
all that stuff. and women will just be straight with you because they'll have a different perspective. I mean, and
Mhm.
so I really appreciate that, and
Mhm.
so I absolutely agree. I think not only is it morally the right thing to do is, to hire a diverse population. I mean, look at the world around us, right?
Right. Yep.
But it's great for business, right? If your company is made up of people who look like your customers, then
Mm.
that's great. We have a better understanding of the people we are trying to serve,
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
It's so um, it's there's a lot. Again, likewise, I'm no expert here, but
Mm.
again, I think these are small things that can help.
Yeah. Yeah. I should tell the audience this is not something, this is a very organic conversation if you're listening in. And Karan and I have maybe spent 35 to 40 minutes total talking in our lifetimes. Do you know what I mean? And so I know that these questions, they're just coming at you. And I appreciate just, us just going there, right? Because this is what life's about. And these are the deep conversations that need to be had. So yeah, thank you. I have another question for you, and it's, I haven't had a founder on before, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm so curious, knowing, I've worked with founders, I coach founders, but I haven't had them on as a guest here. And, I would just invite you to share your thoughts and experience on life as a founder and the pressures, the ups and downs, and honestly, the loneliness that goes with that too, right? I mean, there's a lot that I don't think people really understand that, if you could educate us all a little bit on what that's like so we can have a better perspective, even when we're pitching or presenting an idea or trying to, get budget, or there's all kinds of things that, people like to do. What do you have to say about that? What can we learn? Enlighten us today, my friend. I'd love to know.
Yeah, thanks. That is I started a company a few years ago. It was a very, big part of my career. I learned so much. I learned a lot about myself, about like what I'm capable of, and I learned a lot about the world, about how to work with people, how to inspire, how to learn from what other people are doing, how to ask for help. There's so much that goes on, right? But I have a quick little story, right? So there was this, when I was this relatively naive founder trying to figure things out. One of the things that you do is you go to other founders, people who've raised seed rounds, A rounds, B rounds, who look like they're on their way to success,
Mhm.
right? Like this is the dream, right? Raising your Series B or whatever, and you go to them for advice, and they give you really frank advice. And I met this founder, and he was great. He shared a lot. He helped me out. And a couple of years after that, he sold his company, and I met him then. And he was immediately, and I was like, "Hey, great, congratulations, you sold your company." He was like, "Oh man, I'm so glad that's over." I
Mhm.
was like, I did not expect that answer.
Right. Yeah.
I was blown
Mhm.
away. And anyway, so it made me realize that even though things might look really peachy when they're
Mhm.
on TechCrunch or something like that,
Yep.
the, everybody's going through the same ups and downs, right?
Mhm.
Every founder, like it's just the level has changed, right? Like, so if you think about Donkey Kong, I don't know if you remember that game, but
Oh
like,
my gosh,
you
I
go
have
level by level, right?
Donkey Kong.
And
Yeah.
so the thing is,
Mm.
as you're raising your rounds, as you're growing your company, your level changes, but you still have to keep fighting the next boss level.
Yep.
You still have to get to the next level, and
Mhm.
it's hard, and it's going to be, you're going to have different challenges, but you're going to have challenges, right? So I guess one thing I want to point out, especially to some of the younger founders, is don't imagine, don't seek happiness with the next milestone.
Oh, so we say
That,
it
like,
again. Say it again.
that's just
So good.
it's not, that's not how it works, right?
Don't
It's
seek happiness at the next milestone. That's what you said, right?
yes,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
writer downer. That's a writer downer.
yeah,
Yes.
like the next milestone is just the next milestone.
Yep.
And so you got to seek happiness in the journey, rather than, oh, I'll be
Mhm.
happy when I hit a Series A, or I'll be
Yep.
happy when I hit a Series B, or I'll be happy when I hit whatever, 20 million valuation or 100 million valuation.
Mhm.
I mean, essentially, you're putting your life on hold through all of these years to get validation from some other metric, from some press, or from some investors, or something. Like it's a vanity metric, basically, right?
Mhm. Oh my
So
gosh.
so and
Totally.
and every founder is going through this, and
Yep.
Yeah, I wish people figured out a way to keep things in perspective. But and I know it's easier to talk than do it because when you're in it, you're in the
Yeah,
zone.
yeah,
You
yeah.
don't. But yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, I don't normally like lose words. I have so much I want to say to just support what you're saying because, yeah, first of all, whether you're a founder or you're still in elementary school, everybody has these goals that are based on external societal expectations, right? What your parents think, what your spouse thinks, what the world says. And I have never seen an easier way to get stuck in your own way when I'll be happy when is a thought. I'll be happy when. I mean, fundamentally, the thing that when I work with my clients, what we talk about is how do you want to feel? It's what I asked you before we went live, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you want to feel is a real good indicator to align the goals you're setting. Because then you say, oh, is this goal I'm setting going to make me feel this way? Will I feel this way on the journey? Because it's not just my dad used to always say, oh, here we go, Dad. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And I said, you know what you do to your parents, right? But fundamentally, knowing how you want to feel and calibrating that against the goals you're setting. I want to feel accomplished. Well, you can IPO, but there's other ways to feel accomplished too, right? Because the pressure that comes with some of these decisions that people put themselves in, it's tremendous, and it gets very romanticized. That's the word I'm going to use, right?
Yeah,
To your point.
that's
Yeah, I was on a panel, oh gosh, a couple of years ago. I was the only non-founder on the panel, if you will. Like there was a unicorn, we had all these like different series, we had investors and all this, and all of them said what you're saying in their own way. But I haven't heard it just so succinctly as what you just said. And then, my own personal story on this journey with what you're talking about that I just kind of want to meet you with and see what your reaction is to this. So when I left corporate and I formed our consulting firm, there was an opportunity to buy a boutique consulting firm. And I immediately went, well, I'm older, it's already established. I'm gonna just go buy it, build or buy, right? And time is of the essence. So I'm gonna go buy it. And it was a pretty hefty price tag. And I had to go raise funds, right? I went through the angel funding round. I pitched it to everybody all over the place. And I did get some investors. And I realized I just got a serious like master's degree in funding, right? And pitching, and it changed everything. So through that whole process, I then realized I want to do it my way, right? So that's like, I guess like that the insight of the founder, right? And I didn't want to have the debt, and I didn't want to work for the investors. I didn't want to. I was like, no. I got enough pressure. I'm going to go try my little thing over here. And we've grown and we've done great, but I, going into it, didn't think about, oh, I'm going to be indebted to all of these people. I just thought they'll believe in me. I'll get the money. It's all good. Hell no, that is not how it works.
Yeah, I'm with you exactly. You're, I mean, investors play an important part, but yeah, you are accountable to them.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was a whole like, whoa, talk about taking on risk.
Yeah, raising money means taking on fiduciary responsibility, and sometimes you'll get great investors which will help you like just grow your company and be awesome partners in this whole journey, and sometimes you won't.
Yeah.
And there are those kinds too, so you have to be very, very picky.
Yeah, I had to get really clear, like, I'll be happy when I get the investors. And I was like, wait, that's not going to make me happy. So how do I want to feel? I wanted freedom and like freedom of choice. And I wanted to be with my daughter and not be all in all the time to someone else. So we scaled back. And now we're growing. But yeah, I had to figure out how. I'm so glad I had that awareness, because I can't even imagine what life would be like. So I'm
that sounds great. Sounds like a very thoughtful decision.
In the moment, I didn't feel thoughtful. I thought, how stupid am I? Don't we always question? I'm just being honest. Like, what did I just do? Giving money back to investors, that's fun too, right? I changed my mind. Here you go. Yeah. The whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Yeah. It's strange.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of talking about stress too, and like self-awareness. So how do you manage your stress? Like, let's share some tips to folks on what works for you. Maybe they'll get some ideas from you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it there were a few years where I had no idea how to manage stress. In fact, I didn't even realize I was stressed. But
Yeah.
man, it was crazy stressful, right?
Mhm.
And it's when I got out of it, that's when I realized, oh wow, the world is somehow clear again.
Mhm.
Anyways, I kind of learned a few things from that. So what I do now is like I think big part of just not having stress in your life or just generally being happier, honestly, is putting your health as a very high priority on the list of things you need to do every day. Sounds cliched, everyone talks about this, but I'm genuinely saying, like, the days that I don't work out, I just feel down. So I think it's good. It's like, it's biological, it releases hormones, it makes you feel good, it helps you make good decisions. So it's good. It's good for your work. It's good for your life. So people should make it a priority. So I do that, and I do a bunch of other things too. Like you mentioned. I have a family, so I like to spend time with my family, with my friends, and even I mean, even though we have COVID now, I'm really looking forward to this happy hour that's coming up with my colleagues. And
Right. Yeah.
I think it'll be great to see people in person after such a long time. And so it's the little things.
Mm.
You got to take these little breaks, disconnect from technology, get away from your computer, get away from your phone, and go do something else.
Yeah.
I think that can kind of put things in perspective, and yeah, give you,
Mm.
yeah, and easy, turn off your notifications. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We were joking. Anyone listening, we were joking. We put our phones in airplane mode and we're like, when's the last time we had to go in airplane mode? Right. Even that kind of notification blocking.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Karan, you said something that I think would really help people if I could double click on it with you. So you said, I didn't even know I was stressed. And then all of a sudden I stopped and the world was clear. Could you just, for people, I don't think people walk around going, I'm burnt out. I know I didn't. I was in it and I could
Mhm.
not see the forest from the trees. And, I had to have a health issue to like wake me up. Right. Um, could you describe what it was like before you had that experience of, oh, the world is clearer? What was it when you were in it that you couldn't recognize? And maybe we can help other people recognize it sooner than we did.
Yeah, so I'm referring to maybe like a couple of times in my life. Like, I mean, in my recent life, at least. This one was obviously when I was building my company. The other was, when I was going through this IPO process with with the previous company. Things can get really stressful. I mean, these seem like really big milestones and hard things that you have to hit. And especially when you're building your own company, you're
Mhm.
responsible for so many people, right? So when you're in it, it'll be simple things. It's like, maybe it's something like, what, I'm this email is important, I'm going to spend the next whatever 30 minutes on it, or this deck is important,
Mhm.
and so I'm going to skip breakfast today, or I'm going to skip this call with my buddy today,
Mhm.
and or I'm going to whatever skip my jog, skip my run.
Mhm.
And pretty soon it turns into a week, a month, these things, because you just get into the habit of doing that and of prioritizing A over B all the time.
Yep.
And I think what I've realized now is, you, instead of having to make those decisions and get into that sort of a routine where you're always prioritizing everything else over your general well-being.
Mhm.
That's, first of all, that's not good for your work anyway. That's
Yeah.
not good for your relationships. And of course, I mean, it's not good for your health. So I think if you put routines in place, and I think very successful people do this. They make sure that they spend time with their family, or whoever their significant other is, or they make sure they spend time to stay healthy. And we see them do amazing things with their companies, with their work.
Yeah.
So it's not a novel idea, it's just something I think we have to remember.
you kn- when I'm listening to you talk, and I really appreciate how you described it, because yeah, that was me too. It was, I'll just eat at my desk, or I don't need to eat, or you start to like deprioritize the basics for yourself, and then keep thinking, well, there's just not enough time. I got to get it all done. I'll just work late. I don't need sleep. Oh, it's only a Saturday. Oh, and you just kind of like make it less important, and just for the good of whatever, right? And that's that always on part that I keep talking about. um I really appreciate your examples. They're very tangible, and I think people can see that. So if you notice yourself skipping lunch, breakfast, dinner, time with family, things that make you happy, phone calls with friends, and you wake up and it's 3 months, you're on the path.
Yeah.
There are push times, of course. Quarter end for any salesperson, you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
Year end for anybody in finance, you're going to be busy. Tape outs,
Yeah.
release parties. There are
Oh
times,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
right? But
This is not black and white. Yeah.
exactly. We're not saying that. We're just saying the theme over time, like look for the trend,
Yeah.
right?
Just
Yeah.
exactly. And actually, you mentioned something really interesting there. So I think one of the things that's really important for business is having time to be thoughtful,
Oh,
right?
100%.
And if you're sitting in front of your email all day or your Slack or
Mhm.
I mean, today people are in endless Zoom meetings.
Yep.
It's I mean, our brains just don't work that way. Like it's biologically not possible to be thoughtful when you're trying to juggle like 4 things at the same time.
Yep.
And so I think you have to step away to become good at the other things,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just remembering this one thing. I used to go to this gym and they had this poster of someone playing golf, and basically the summary of it was, you work out so that you can be good at other stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, yes,
That's
that's what it is
brilliant,
about. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Doesn't even matter. At least 3 times this week, I was working with different leaders, and I always do a calendar assessment with them. I take a look at where they spend their time, and then we talk about the return of their time and, their investment of their time. I can always find people at least 2 hours a week. Easy, right? And then I'll say, okay, that's time you're going to block now. And that's thinking time. That's white.
Mhm.
I call it white space. Well, no, I can just get more done now. I'm like, no. This is this is like, we are not the industrial revolution. We are a knowledge worker based world. Your brain has to file things and resort. And I said, the ideas you get usually, aren't they in the shower when you're sleeping at night or when you're working out? This is when people get ideas.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
fight it. We fight it. The society's like, must be busy all the time. And I'm like, being still is actually being busy for your creativity and your innovation. And you don't have time to not make time.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk about like
Big.
how to put some of this in practice, right? So I'll give a quick example.
I love it. Yeah.
So for example, when we do our some of the processes that I've set in place like across different teams, that I've worked with, is especially for engineers. So the way I think about code is it's basically 2 hours of just thinking and then maybe 30 minutes of actually writing the code.
Okay.
You have to think about what you are going to get done, what's the outcome that you want.
Mhm.
But it's very unlikely that people are going to stop and just think for 2 hours, because that's just not how we work. Like you'll get occupied into something else. But what we've tried to do is push really back, push hard on meetings, which is have as few meetings as possible.
Mhm.
And simply saying that doesn't work. So one of the things that I've done with my teams is actually put in place, hey, we're going to have these meetings, and we're going to use these meetings for this for this, and every team now go do it, right? And so what that means, it gives everybody a framework. And of course, like you said, it's not black and white. There are, people have their variations, but I feel like you kind of got to put some systems in place,
Mhm.
which creates a forcing function, like creates these windows of time
Yep.
where that it's your time,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And the best leaders I know are the ones that actually put the systems in place. I had someone on our podcast a while back, and all she does is help people design their meetings. Right.
That's great. I want to meet her.
Fabulous. Yeah. Shout out to Elise at Lucid Meetings. Straight up amazing what they do. And what she was just talking about has really to do with the process and operations of it, and everybody being on the same page, because that's where the freedom comes. It's funny because people are like, oh, we're constrained. It's like, you're really not. It's like raising kids, the same thing. You put the boundaries on, and then the freedom's within the boundaries. So yes, stand-ups, check-in, war rooms, all these have a purpose, and they all came about from something. But I really would love to spend a little bit more time in the mind of an engineer, because I think you have that, right? And it's not something I have. I support engineers all day with the work that I do. But when you think about when is an engineer at their best, knowing just how engineers are wired, I love this idea of structure, and especially if you're leading the team. So if you're leading a team of engineers, what other tips do you have for the leaders listening to really optimize for performance and also innovation when it comes to breaking some of this like ingrained normalcy we have on back to back and go, go, go?
Yeah, that is such a great question, and thanks for asking. It's so relevant. I think so. I've seen. So let's talk about how I've seen it done not well, right?
Yeah, let's do not well. Then we'll go to the
Yeah,
other side.
not well, right? I've seen sometimes leaders, and they can be engineering leaders, or they can be product leaders. So like product managers, for example.
Yep. Yep.
Be very specific about what they want, right? And like be really specific about, hey, my team of 3, 4 engineers, 2 engineers, go make this. And here is the spec, here's the requirement, and done, right? And then they go away. That will not spur any creativity, that will not spur any innovation, and that will not spur any collaboration between the teams, right? Essentially, you're just asking someone to write code for you in a very specific manner. And that is not what engineers do. That is not how I define engineers. Engineers go and find solutions, right? And there can be many different solutions to any given problem. It can start from a very rough, quick hack, which you can get done in the next 30 minutes, to something that's really elegant and long-term, which sets you up for the next 5 years, right? And so the way I've seen it done really well is when engineers, or people who are actually coding, are given the breadth of space to think and to be creative, and about the solutions that they bring to the table. So which means people who are working on the business side of things kind of bring them in early to understand the problem, but then they don't keep them in meetings all the time. They kind of structure it in such a way so that they can be free to think about the different possible approaches to tackling that problem. And I've seen people do that now, with either piece together something with a bunch of stuff that's available online. I mean, there's an app for everything right now.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Or yeah, like actually go and write a lot of difficult, complex code, but which is fantastic for the company. But you got to give people that freedom.
Okay, so I have a loaded question with what you're just saying, and I know you trust me, so I'm just going to go there. Well, I hope you trust me. We'll see where
go there. Yeah.
I firmly believe, this is just, this is my thesis, my hypothesis, if you will. Many, many, many times companies promote these brilliant engineers into people leadership positions simply because they're really smart at what they do, not because they have the people skills, right? So many times I see the people skills, sometimes called soft skills, but insight into how people work, not really being prioritized. And yet this amazing engineer who is, PhD, amazing, brilliant, awesome, but doesn't know how to inspire, motivate, or lead teams, gets this opportunity. And then I watch the morale drop. And then it goes back to what you were talking about, like, do this specific thing my way. Is that your experience too? Or do you think I'm just kind of living in la la land?
No, I think you're right. And honestly, I think I'm guilty of doing that at least once. I've definitely seen it done more than once, by others, which is like you said, essentially the natural progression of an engineer is, as you become technically stronger, you get promoted to a people management position. But I think that's wrong, right? People should become people managers if they want to become people managers, if they think that's the right career path for them. And of course, if they're actually, going to be good at it. Right. So
there's that little part, if they're going to be good at it, right? I know.
Right. Yeah. So one of the ways that several companies solve it, including what we do, is have different tracks, which is have seniority tracks for technical and for people who want to be technical or people who want to go into management. The thing is, if you promote someone to be a manager and they're not ready to be a manager, it's almost impossible for them to go back to being an IC.
Totally.
It's pride gets in the way.
Oh my gosh.
Just, image gets in the way. Like, no matter what you say, no matter how sincere you are, that no, this is great. Like, it's just not going to happen, which is not great for the company, which is, definitely not great for that person, and, thankfully in the one instance where I made that mistake, we were able to fix it. But, it's, Yeah, but that's why I think you asked a really good question, which is, how do we make sure we promote only the people who want to be managers as managers?
Yeah. I think, and I appreciate the dual career ladder and the different tracks. I think that it's definitely a start. I think that there's, again, this is my soapbox, but I think there's just not enough emphasis placed on the competencies of people leadership when these decisions to promote into management happen. And I really feel like it sets a lot of people up to fail, not just the poor person who's trying to become a people leader, who thought it was one thing, no realistic job preview, right? All of a sudden, write performance reviews, manage performance, allocate stock, and they're like, what? This is not what I signed up for, right? And yet at the same time, I think the companies have an obligation I believe it's an ethical and moral obligation to support them to develop those skills if they show the aptitude and the desire. And somehow everybody's just so busy. It's like, no, you'll figure it out. Just go. And, it's job security for me. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely something that I feel really strong about, that helping people to lead a human being requires different skills than to lead a technical project. Do you know? And so thank you for, my 10 minutes of soapbox on this, because I'm always trying to validate if I'm out of touch or if I'm missing something, because I do know the failure rates when you bring a VP in from the outside, 40% failure rate without onboarding and support, without a doubt, right? Yeah. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, I don't know that I have a question.
No, Lisa, I want to double click on that though. I think, when you're talking about leadership, right, I think people should remember, like, leadership is not necessarily management.
Right.
They're two totally different things.
Yep.
Right. So, which means you can be a leader without having to be a people manager.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, and we do that, at least the teams that I've worked in, we try to encourage that. And the way I think about this is, the job of a leader is to create more leaders. Like, that basically defines you as being a good leader. Yeah. And it doesn't start, like, say, when you're a level 8 or a level 7. It starts, from very, very early in your career. Right. So even if you are just a couple of years out of college, if you can now help the person who is, joining you straight out of college, and help them be a better at what they do, then you are showing signs of leadership. You're developing your own leadership skills, right?
Yep.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great manager, because, like you said, management comes with all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Managing, literally, like working with HR and, managing stakeholders and all this stuff, which you might not enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're two totally different tracks, and you can totally be a great leader, an inspiring leader, without having to be in a management position.
I love that so much. Amen. Like, I don't know, if I had a mic, I'd be like, mic drop. I can't drop this one because it's plugged in. Yes,
thanks,
there is a difference. Absolutely, there's a difference. I love this so much. Yeah. Okay, so I really want to ask you a random question. And random question. And it has to do with, like, how you grew your own leadership skills, people leadership skills, if you will. I guess that's my question, honestly. Do you have a degree in business and people leadership? Did you read a couple of books? Did you go through some sort of program? How did you develop your, not only your skills, but your understanding of what it means to be a people leader?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I think there's a few different ways, few different things played into this. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, I used to think that this is something you could just, get from books, or go get an MBA and you'll be a mm-hmm. leader. I mean, you can certainly be in a management position after getting an MBA or, very specific degree, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a good leader. I think part of being a good leader just comes from within. I think some people, because you can see 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds be great leaders on the playground, and they have definitely not read a management book, I hope. Right. So I think some of it is just personality, right? Mm-hmm. But then some of it does come from experience, right? Like, so for example, I got the chance to work with a VP of engineering early in my career, and he was amazing, just a very honorable person, led by example. And some of that just thankfully rubbed off on me. And so I try to use that. Then something else is, of course, like what doctors do, right? Like they keep learning throughout their career.
Mm-hmm.
They're always learning, right? And so I think similarly, like we have to hone our leadership skills, right? You have to read books, you have to learn from other people's successes and mistakes,
Yep.
watch videos of people giving speeches about this, watch a bunch of tech talks. I mean, that's like very tactical advice, but I think
It's good
that's
advice.
what you have to do. There is
Yeah.
so much information available.
Yeah.
You can kind of pick and choose the stuff that sticks out to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm listening and I always filter what people say. I like segment it. And I heard something in there you didn't say, but I'm going to make sure if I heard it right. I think there's also a part about having a value, valuing people, you are wired a certain way. You can learn anything, of course, but also there's this a pull through of values. When you're talking about the VP of engineering that rubbed off on you, whatever it was, he or she valued as the leader. When it rubbed off on you, it was in my mind, it's a match. And you went, that feels good. I want more of that. And I want to give that to others. Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's almost like also pay attention to managers and leaders you liked having on your side and others that you didn't, and incorporating that too, right? And yeah, I firmly believe it's a lifelong journey. I don't think you ever stop learning how to be a better people leader. I mean, you can't. I mean, people have never in our lifetime managed an entire world of pandemic related work situation, right? You got to evolve. You got to, it has to happen. So
yeah, and also it's a changing field, right? If you remember,
totally, yeah.
Like a few years ago, maybe a couple of decades ago, things used to be very autocratic.
Mm-hmm.
But this aren't that way anymore. Like people have changed, attitudes have changed. People are educated in a slightly different way, so they expect different things from their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why leadership styles also have to change.
Yeah.
Simply like I said, simply writing things on a board doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, command and control is going bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Collaboration. Yeah. Karan, I could talk to you for hours. I'm so grateful for your time, especially through the lens that we've had today for the audience that we reach on this podcast. There's so much good you dropped here, from everything from stress management, how you built your own leadership, what it's like to be a founder, talking about balancing work life, supporting women in the workplace, working with all kinds of different diverse teams. It's just been awesome. I'm really grateful. And I definitely need to ask this question because I have a playlist and we are not leaving without our song question.
Thanks so much for having me on. Honestly,
oh my gosh,
very kind of you. You asked such awesome questions, and
thank you.
And yeah, you made me really think and be retrospective. So thanks a lot.
Good. Well, I can't wait to hear the comments on this one from others. But
okay,
so we're building the playlist, and here's my question for you. This is the home run question. With everything that you have going on in your life and you're trying to, raise your energy, you're feeling funky, tired, not motivated, whatever, what's a song that you listen to that feeds your spirit? And you smiled, so I know it's in here, but what's your go-to song to just pick yourself up?
Okay. Okay. So I love music. So there's many, but there's definitely a go-to. Did you grow up listening to the Doors?
I know some of the Doors. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a song called The Soft Parade. And that song is amazing. Like the lyrics are amazing. So yeah, I listen to that from time to time. The thing with that song is that it picks up, and when it picks up, so anyway, it has that going for it. You might enjoy it. But another one that's really popular is and really easy, by the way, to play on a guitar. It's Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. Have you heard that?
I get knocked out. That one.
Yeah, that one. Exactly. And it has vodka and everything in it. So it's a great song.
Okay, whiskey drink. That's awesome. I don't think I know the Doors song. Soft Parade. Is that right?
Yeah, okay. The Soft Parade.
All right. This is awesome. Okay, you guys, we got 2 songs. So anybody listening in, I want you just to take 1 minute and think about that song that lifts your spirits too. Leave this conversation today with some insight, awareness. Know that you've got this, right? And that your health matters more than anything, because without your health, you can't do anything else. And I Karan, thank you for pointing that out too along this journey today. It was a really important topic we
Yeah,
talked about.
thanks so much, Lisa. I love what you're doing here. I think it's so great. It helps so many people.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys check the show notes. And if you're a woman in tech and you're looking for a place to go, I know some really great job descriptions over at Shift.
Thanks so
All right,
much. Yeah,
everybody,
thanks
take
for
good
saying that.
care.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.